And first, I would like to present, not to present because all of you know a lot, Mr. Ton, our chair, our boss, our, I don't know how to call him, but however, he is well known, so he will present you the work, phenomenon, yes. he will present us the work of a working group, a CEN working group on the IOMS performance evaluation. Thank you, Ton.
Thank you, Anne-Claude. My favorite title is Detonator, because I like to start things, but not necessarily to finish. So this is a story about the long and winding road of the CEN TC264 Working Group 41, which is tasked with developing a standard for validating instrumental odor measurement systems, as they're called. So that was a very wide job, and we were given 6 years to do it. And the long and short is that we've failed to reach the destination. There was too much to discuss, and yeah, we started with a very open field. It was not very focused. What do we have to do? Because what is an IOMS? That ranges from a PTR machine that comes with a PhD standing next to it, to a small sensor device, to something that you can click on your phone. It's a lot of stuff. But in the end, what we want is answer for a demand of people to have continuous odor monitoring and to say something about what we experience as people. So, do we notice an odor? If so, which odor is it? And can we say something about the intensity of that odor? Those are the questions we really want to answer, and we want something that measures that all the time. So if we speak about this, very soon we got to the idea that it's very important to say something with this standard on how you establish the link between what the IOMS, what the machine says, and what the human says. And we had to start from the start, because we didn't have the exact phrase of, you know, or the understanding that if you speak about odor, you speak about the human experience. If you speak about the machine, what is it then? That's an odor stimulus indicator we came up with. So we had to invent words to distinguish these things, and that took a long time. So in the paper you will see that there is a long timeline, and basically we haven't finished. The official time in CEN is 6 years. We have not made that, so the work item, as they call it, has been suspended and has to be restarted. So it's a new process, a new vote. Okay, yes, we're going to go on with this work. And then we get another 6 years. The task is extremely challenging. I found this quote, which I won't read totally, by Alexander Graham Bell in 1914, who said, you know, it is really difficult to measure a smell. Can you tell whether one smell is just twice as strong as another? Can you measure the difference between two kinds of smell and another? And he said, but until you can measure their likeness and differences, you can have no signs of odor. If you're ambitious to find a new science, measure a smell. Well, that's been my job for the past 40 years, and I wish I had read this a lot earlier, because it is and remains a different thing. It's a very interesting reflection of who is, after all, the inventor of the decibel. We divided the work in a few task groups: minimum requirements for instrumental odor monitoring, the validation of the relationship between the odor metric and the odor, terms and definitions, and descriptions and review of scope of relevant technologies. Well, the last two task groups, 3 and 4, have finished their work. Task group 1 and 2 were in the process combined and are still deliberating how to deal with the challenges. The terms and definitions, as I said, are done, and we now have a consistent conceptual framework and the terms and definitions to work with that and discuss that. The most important thing is to distinguish between the human odor, human perception, and the associated indicator values produced by an IOMS. The description of different technologies was relatively simple, that's done. The validation of methods is partially complete, so we have a good degree of agreement on detecting the absence and the presence of an odor under study. That is a part where we developed a framework, and that's done. Classifying the presence of multiple odors under study, odor A, odor B, odor X, or the absence of all these odors, that's more or less done. But measuring the odor stimulus indicator as a measure of the amount of odor present, an indicator for odor concentration, that's ongoing. We have found 3 applications areas, so we look at these tasks at the source, at the fence line, and at ambient air. So these things happen also at different odor concentrations and odorant concentrations. When you measure in the source, you have very different concentrations from when measuring in ambient air. Of course, the demand from society is very much, can you measure odor frequency, the frequency of noticeable odor in ambient air? Can you tell where it's from? And can you tell whether it's above or below so many odor units? That's what we really want to do, and that's where the demand is. The current status of the standard is that the working draft will be finalized to reflect the current consensus. That's not a complete document, but it's a document in progress. A new preliminary work item will need to be submitted to TC264. If the vote approves the work item, a new development cycle starts, which gives another 6 years. There will have to be a new secretariat and a new convener. They will need to be in place. The Dutch ministry that deals with the environment, which is now unfortunately a department called Infrastructure and Water Management, which has nothing to do with air, have decided that the issue is not worth financing from Holland, so the secretariat from Holland is without funds, and that means that they have to give back that job. Fortunately, the Italian Uni has put their hand up and said they can take on this task, so I'm very happy about that. That gives continuity, and it gives also the space to a new convener to take on this job, because another 6 years at my age is a long time. Expert members of Working Group 41 are expected to continue their good work, and they have a lot of knowledge now and act as the repository of the work done so far. Of course, there's a large body of information, and that is reflected in the about 230 documents that we have reviewed and produced and generated and shared in the process of the last 6 years. To conclude, the working group has not been able to achieve its objective. That's just a statement of fact. Significant progress has been made in drawing up the conceptual framework, the terms and definitions, the methods to validate the measurement tasks for determining absence and presence, and the classifications of odor under study. That is conceptually done, needs polishing, but is done. While the statistical approach and the validation protocol in the field in the context of the application has been largely defined, the optimization of the test protocol for validating the olfactory stimulus indicator value of an IOMS as compared to odor concentration remains an unresolved challenge. So we have a framework, we have a statistical approach, but how it needs to be done, what reference values you need, how many reference values you need is still a problem. Of course, we have the trouble that the reference method is olfactometry. That has a high inherent uncertainty, which is not a problem if your claim is modest, but if your claim becomes more ambitious for your IMS, you need to do more to produce relevant reference values. That's basically the dilemma we're in. Once the work item is formally reactivated, the optimization topic needs to have been progressed, and an outline of proof of concept trial for the application and validation of the method in a practical setting needs to be defined. So there is a need, in short, to validate the method once we have defined it and have a few people to collaborate in a trial and proof of concept. Does it work? Is it practicable in this way? So that is where we are. I hope we can have a very fruitful and good meeting on the 1st of December, which will be the last one I chair, and I hope that after that the group will reach a quick conclusion within 6 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ton. Some questions, comments on this work? Famous work, really. Challenging work. So, some question, comment? Okay. So
all is clear. We leave it to the future.
No, it's really not clear. It's really a difficult task, I know. So, again, thanks a lot, Ton, for chairing this group, and I'm sure that the last meeting will be really fruitful as well, and that we will go on your job.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom.